Welcome to Essential Ingredients, powered by Next Gen Purpose. EI serves up thoughtful conversations with industry leaders and pioneers who support a regenerative future for our food system. The stories shared by our guests are meant to spark curiosity and inspire informed global change. Welcome to Essential Ingredients. I'm your host, Justine. Today with me is Miyoko, and we are here to talk about the Mindful Eating Film Festival and Rancho Compasión and Miyoko. So welcome, Miyoko.
Thank you, Justine. Thanks for having me. You said my name 3 times in a sentence, so that's great. Thank you.
Oh, see, there we go. And now everybody will remember who we're talking about now and what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
So I'm so pleased to have you here. And for those that are not familiar with Miyoko's Creamery and Rancho Compasión and the Mindful Eating Film Festival, we have a lot to cover. And I'd love for you to maybe just start with Rancho Compasión, because I think that is one of the things that we're here to talk about. It's coming up and it's important. And I'd love for you to just share a little bit about it.
Sure. So thank you so much. Rancho Compasión is a farmed animal sanctuary located in West Marin in the little town of Nicasio. And when we talk about sanctuaries where we save animals, one of the things we talk about is really what is the meaning of a sanctuary. Obviously, you're rescuing animals that would have been slaughtered, or they're being exploited or abandoned, and you're giving them a forever home, taking care of them, not just with food and medicine, but with lots and lots of love. But also, one of the things that's most important, remember, is that it's a sanctuary for us, for we humans, because when we become introduced and we come in contact with these gorgeous creatures and learn about their individual natures and their personalities and the lives that they are living and the personalities they express, we find peace within ourselves, because this is the beginning of a compassionate food system, a compassionate lifestyle where we can enjoy great foods without causing harm to animals. And this is really the meaning of sanctuary. It's not just about rescuing animals, these poor animals, but when I started the sanctuary 6 years ago, I realized that I had rescued myself.
Wow. So that's amazing. And it's an amazing message. And I think it talks to the root of so many of the things that you're working on. So I'm curious, what inspired you to start Rancho Compasión?
Well, you know, I'm a longtime vegan. I've been a vegan since the 1980s, and I've been on my own food journey trying to figure out, how do I use the culinary arts to show people that they can eat this wonderful food, have an elevated lifestyle, and not cause harm? And I've always used the culinary arts to do that. But a few years ago, we moved out to the country and I had a barn, and someone called me up and said, these 2 goats, these baby goats, need rescuing, and you have a barn and you just take care of them. And so I fell in love with them. They followed me around. They were like dogs with horns. We went on hikes with the dogs and the goats, and oh my God. And then these 3 little pigs arrived, and then it was another goat and a sheep, and then it was a cow, and it just sort of snowballed. And finally we were like, okay, we just need to make this official, create a 501c3 nonprofit. And during this whole process of doing so is, what I already said, is that I realized that this was a place of peace. I found that getting up early in the morning to go down and feed the animals and shovel manure was not something that I detested. It sounded like a lot of work, but it was something that brought me so much peace and joy. And you could see the appreciation in the animals as you cared for them. And it changed my life, and it changes the lives of so many volunteers and visitors that we have every single day.
Wow. So I'm curious, because that is so far removed from anything I've experienced. I mean, as a volunteer, maybe once in a while I might go experience something like that as a one-off thing, but I can't imagine myself in that environment. And and I love the message and I love what you're doing, and I'd love to participate and be involved. So I'm wondering what in your experience in the last years brought you to be in that environment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. But okay, Justine, you have a dog. I saw your cute little dog moments before the podcast started. And it's obvious you love your dog.
I do. I love my dog.
And it's really just a continuum of that. It is that we can have these interspecies relationships, but most human beings don't have an opportunity to come into contact with species other than domestic dogs or cats. And so we don't imagine that they are just as capable of love and of connection as our dogs and cats are. And
It's
that's the
true.
remarkable thing. And so when we kind of break free from the ideas that we have that, livestock are these animals that you are in some field over there and they're herd animals and they don't want to have anything to do with you. Just like, I don't know, do you remember 50 years ago, we used to put dogs in the backyard in a doghouse or tie them up on a chain, and we thought that was normal, 50, 60 years
I
ago.
mean, I've heard of this.
You've heard about it.
I've heard of this. I'm
I mean,
only
I'm old
getting
enough to have
there
actually
now,
seen it.
Miyoko.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually old enough to have seen it. And today, nobody, that would be unimaginable. Today,
Awful. That would
it's
not be.
awful. We sleep with
They
our
would call
dog.
the police on you and animal protection and
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And when you come in contact with a goose that loves you and wants to jump into your arms at any time and follow you around, or a goat that puts his head in your lap when you sit down, when you caress, the belly of a pig that flops over, as soon as you start touching, they flop over and they want you to rub their belly.
oh,
Then all of a sudden you realize that they are no different. Animals react to humans the way they're treated. So if you show them love, they return love to you. It's just like dogs and cats.
right. It's true.
And
I mean, it's like we think of them as our children, our family.
yes,
It's the same thing. And without that experience, though, and I love hearing it from you, I can now imagine myself there having that experience. I want to come and experience
yes.
it.
Well, love to have you. You're just down the street. You should come for
Um,
sure.
so tell me, so you started this, 6 years ago, I think you said.
Yes,
And so now I'm curious, this is part of what you're talking about now with the Mindful Eating Film Festival. So can
yes,
you tell me how this all connects and what you've created here and what we can expect to
absolutely. So
see?
absolutely. So, as my life's purpose is to help people make a connection between what they put on their plates and the impact it has on other living beings, the ecosystem, planet, and ultimately themselves. And so, like most nonprofits, we have all kinds of fundraisers. We've had hoedowns and, festivals at Rancho Compasión. And we thought a few years ago, there's a lot of movies that are coming out about connecting food choices with environment or with health or with animals, and films are a very, very effective way to communicate that. I mean, there's so many people that have seen the movie Game Changers on Netflix, for example, or Cowspiracy. And we thought, what if we actually put together an entire day, actually 2 days, of films, food, vendors, speakers, and just did it at the Marin Civic Center, right here, where people in Marin, Sonoma, San Francisco, we're all foodies. We're very passionate about food, and we all care about where our food comes from. I mean, there's a huge locavore movement here, or farm to table, or organic movement. I mean, this is where the organic movement started. So people are thinking about their food choices. And we thought, why don't we have an entire festival dedicated to that? Show these great films, have the writers and the filmmakers come and be on a panel afterwards to speak about it. Invite all kinds of vendors that are selling what we call mindful foods, or foods that don't harm planet or animals, so plant-based, vegan, whatever you want to call it. And so we have a huge festival in the fairgrounds. We have over 30 vendors. I think it might be up to 40. We're kicking it off on Saturday night with a screening, a West Coast premiere of a movie called The Smell of Money, which is about the pork industry in North Carolina and the impact it's having on the communities there, and the high rates of cancer, predominantly in African-American communities that are around these pig farms. And we have the film. This was produced by Kate Mara, the actress, who was actually going to be there herself, but unfortunately she got a gig in London, so she has to go there. But we have the filmmaker and the writer that will be on a panel after that. We're going to have a gala before it, a reception. So we've got a beautifully catered event that will be leading up to that. This is at Dominican University in San Rafael. And then all day Sunday at the Marin County Fairgrounds, at the Marin Civic Center. We've got a fair going on. We got a big speakers tent with all kinds of talks. We'll be showing 4 feature-length films with panels afterwards. We have a smaller room that will be running a loop of shorts all day long that will be free. And then, we'll have vendors. We even have dog adoption there. So,
Wow, that's
yeah,
amazing. I love that.
so it's going to be really exciting. We're just hoping that we can get people to start thinking about, okay, how can I live more, eat more consciously in a way that doesn't take into account just my own health, but the health of others, the lives of others, the ecosystem.
Right. It's so important. I mean, I had one of the co-founders of Just on here a while ago.
Josh Tetrick, or maybe
yes.
or Josh Balt.
Okay, now
There's
now
2 Joshes that
I
found
know
it.
there's 2 Joshes. It's the one that actually works for the Humane Society now.
Yeah, Josh Balk.
Just Balk.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about the first time that, he was living in Washington, D.C., and I don't want to get all into this whole thing, but it was about the chickens and how they live and the lack of experience that they get and how they're treated. And
Yes.
that's how he got his whole story about how he got into what he does now.
Yes.
And I thought that, I don't know if you know the story, but it was so moving to me. It changed the way that I think about things. And I was so happy to amplify that message on this podcast for people to hear.
Well, thank you so much, Justine. I mean, that's such an important message to share with people. It really is.
It really was so pivotal for me because I did not know this. And really, I'm not an expert here, but this really is a place for people to share those stories so that people can make more informed choices.
That's right. Right.
I'm happy to be able to share your story here and how you started Rancho Compasión and this film festival. And how long has it been going on now? The film
festival started in 2019, and we actually had it in Point Reyes at the Dance Palace. And it was kind of thrown together. We had like a month to put it together. We really didn't think anyone was going to come. And about 600 people came and jammed this little, downtown Point Reyes. And we were like blown away. So, and then we did it shifted to online, obviously, during the pandemic. And so this will be the first time since then where we're going to be in person, and we're just blowing it up, and we're hoping everyone's going to come out.
The Mindful Eating Film Festival examines the problems created by our modern agricultural systems and encourages participants to consider how our consumer and dietary choices impact climate change, the environment, our health, and the animals with whom we share the planet. Proceeds from the event will support over 90 rescued sanctuary animals residing at Rancho Compasión and dozens of students and community members through Rancho Compasión's humane education and visitor programs.
Well, I'm very excited for you. So, and just so that the people watching, I mean, I'd love for you to just share a little bit about Miyoko's Creamery, because I think that's a lot about what you do as well. And I think it's important to share. And
yeah, so Miyoko's Creamery is a company I started 8 years ago. I'm a serial entrepreneur, been in food for a long time, but as they say, people say I go vegan, but for the cheese. And I was one of those, because cheese was my great love. It really was for most of my life until I went vegan. And then I learned to live without it for a long time. And finally in the 2000s, I was like, I'm not getting younger, and I still don't have that damn cheese platter. Where is it? So I got in the kitchen. I had to figure out how to make cheese out of plant milk. And so what I did was I took some cheese making courses. I read books, watched videos. I started playing around with soy milk and cashew milk and almond milk and trying to figure out how can I replicate the cheese making process using that traditional artistry, but applying maybe some new techniques and using these plant milks. And it culminated in a book that I wrote called Artisan Vegan Cheese, which was the first book written on this subject about making cheese using natural fermentation. There's a whole bunch of books out now, but it was the first. And 2 years later, I started a company in Fairfax, California. Thought it was going to be a little tiny cheese shop, but it kind of blew up, and we moved to Petaluma in 2017. And We've been there since. We're in about 30,000 stores across
Is
the
that all?
country in Canada. Yeah. And do a little bit of export. Our butter, our European style cultured vegan butter is in Costco, Japan, for example. And so it's kind of random, but they wanted it.
No
So
small feat.
yeah. So, but for me, it's not just about selling product. As I mentioned before, I consider myself an Epicurean activist. This has been my life's mission, is to make great food that doesn't cause harm to animals or the environment. And so how can that be done? You know, so many people are compassionate in heart. People say, I love animals, but they don't understand that they're causing harm to animals in so many different ways with our current factory farms and all of this stuff. And so if we can create a way for people to have an elevated lifestyle where they can have the dolce vita in a compassionate way, we call it the compassionate dolce vita. It's a win-win for everybody, for us, for the animals, for the environment. And that's the purpose of this company. It's an activism-driven company. And we make great cheese and butter out of plant milks, whole foods, organic. You know, we're not GMO. We don't use a bunch of flavors, and it's just made the traditional way, like cheesemakers have been making cheese for centuries.
Well, that's inspiring, because my mission has always been to build a business that can do good and make money.
Yes.
They're equally important to me.
Yes.
And so that's really inspiring and something to drive for in my mind. So you've got the animals, the planet, health, you've got a lot going into that.
Yeah,
in my
I mean,
mind.
for me, the most important thing is the animals, and that's how it ties into Rancho Compasión.
Right.
And if people are wondering, it's ranchocompasion.org. You can go there to find out about the Mindful Eating Film Festival.
Well, I was going to ask you, how would people get tickets if they wanted to, or find out about getting involved in Rancho Compasión?
Oh my God. Well, there's, well, I'll repeat this a couple times. So if you want to get tickets, you can go to ranchocompasion.org or Mindful Eating, just Google Mindful Eating Film Festival. You can go to the Marin Center and get tickets for the movies. And then
Miyoko, don't worry, we will put a link as well. So for those watching, we will add all of this. For those listening, you can go to our website. But
how do you get involved in Rancho Compasión? We always need volunteers, and the animals need you. They love volunteers. They will come up to you if you're shoveling manure or, I don't know, putting straw down in stalls. The goats will be right there waiting to be petted. A big 800-pound pig might come up to you and rub her snout in your leg so that you give him or her a pet. So they're so loving. They want you. We need help. We have a small staff. We're largely volunteer run. So if you want to get involved in Rancho Compasión, you can go to our website and there's a volunteer information page there.
And the one thing we did not get is a date on this Mindful Eating Film Festival.
Oh my gosh, it's August 6th and 7th.
Okay.
So, yeah, the reception
important. We need to let people know.
Oh my God. August 6th is the reception at Dominican University Angelico Hall. August 7th is at the Marin County Fairgrounds in San Rafael.
Okay, wonderful. And so if anybody wants to buy Miyoko's cream or Miyoko's Creamery or butter, where would they find that?
So you can go to Whole Foods, Sprouts, Target, Walmart, Costco, most natural food stores, Molly Stone's, pretty much everywhere.
Lucky. So I think we've got it covered now. We covered the Mindful Eating Film Festival, we covered Rancho Compasión, and we covered Miyoko's Creamery. Did I leave anything out?
I think that's it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad that we were able to catch up just in time for us to let everybody know about the film festival coming up, and for them to, get tickets and participate and even volunteer if they should so choose. And thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Justine. I really appreciate it.
It was wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you to our guests for joining us. As always, we want to hear from you. Let us know if there's anything else we can bring to you on these podcasts. Please rate and review and leave us a note. To learn more about these episodes and access show notes, go to nextgenpurpose.com and choose podcast. If you like this episode, head to Apple Podcasts or your favorite platform to subscribe and leave us a review. Visit the Next Gen Purpose YouTube channel to subscribe to our EI videocast and give this episode a like while you're there. Follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn at Next Gen Purpose and connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram at Justine_Reichman. Thanks for joining us.